Hey there everyone, this is Bob Martin, the RC sub guy with the NautilusDryDocks.com, and I thought it was high time that we revisited a really important topic to our hobby, and that is cyanoacrylate, also known as super glue. It's the kind of adhesive that we use for almost everything that we do for RC submarines. I want to talk about the different kinds that are out there and my favorite brand. So as you can see before you, I've got an array of different kinds of cyanoacrylate glue, and as you may also be able to see from that far away, this is manufactured by a company called Starbond. Now, I have aligned myself with them as a trusted vendor, and my friends there at Starbond supplied these for the purpose of making this video for you guys. Now, if you go to my website, you'll actually see under the adhesive section, you can purchase all of these, and if you follow the link that I so thoughtfully provided for you, I will get a small kickback off of every bottle of glue that you purchase. Yay for me, and thanks to you. The other exciting thing about this is if you go on there and note the coupon code, you will also get 10% off your first order. So make it a good one, make it worthwhile. Let's talk about the different kinds of cyanoacrylate and what I use them for in the hobby of RC submarines. All right, as I mentioned, there are many different kinds and formulations and purposes behind the different types of cyanoacrylate that you will be able to find. I want to start sort of with the more common ones, and then we're going to get to some more specialized cyanoacrylates on the other side here. So we're going to start on your left, my right. This is a great general purpose cyanoacrylate. This is a thin, and as you can see there from splashing around in the bottle, the consistency is basically water. The thin cyanoacrylate is used specifically for bonding two parts that mate together, almost perfectly. And when you use this on those joints, capillary action will actually suck it into the joint and make a really nice bond. Now, this is neat stuff. Starbond put this out. This is odorless cyanoacrylate. Now, I don't know if any of you have gotten a really close whiff of CA as you've been using it, but that will curl your nose hairs. This will not. So it's the thin CA with all of the benefits and features, but it won't singe your nose if you happen to get a whiff of it. Next one that I use quite a bit, you'll see here these next two. This is the medium thick. Now, this is a little bit different formulation. This is the premium high strength version. I've just kind of discovered this. I think this is a new product from Starbond. But this has increased performance, and the big thing is it's got increased flexibility. Now, if you know anything about cyanoacrylates, CA is actually quite brittle, but when you add some flexibility to it, you just really increase the bond strength there. So this is that medium thick that you're going to want to put in there, and then this is the standard medium thick that does not have that flexibility. I've gone through dozens of bottles of this stuff. So before we go off to the other side, if you're looking to create an inventory for your shop, there's probably 3 bottles that I'm going to recommend. That would be that thin CA that I just talked about, the medium thick, high strength, the high flexibility stuff, and the last one is this this black stuff, and this is the medium thick as well. Now, this is reinforced with rubber particles. I believe it was initially created for bonding rubber tires on RC cars, but I use it extensively where high strength adhesion is required on areas that perhaps don't fit perfectly, but require a high degree of strength, bonding strength with a little bit of flexibility, and that is what this is formulated for. So this would be my choice for the 3 bottles that I would recommend you invest in. Basically with these three, they will be able to accommodate almost any joint that you're going to be creating in this hobby. Now, one more thing that you're going to want to add that I haven't yet talked about is this accelerator. If you're impatient like me and you need to get things done quick, accelerator basically kicks off cyanoacrylate almost instantaneously. So it will create that bonded joint much faster than if you were to leave it to cure or kick off on its own. One thing to note, if you do have like a drip or a puddle, that curing process is exothermic. It will get extremely hot. In some cases, if there's enough of it there, it'll smoke. Now, the other thing to note, if you've got some on your fingers and you accidentally missed them, that can burn. I've gotten second-degree burns from cyanoacrylate. Be careful. It's not a bad idea to wear rubber gloves when you're using this crazy glue. The accelerator also comes in a spray can, so if you have a large joint or one that's hard to get to, the spray aerosol version would be what you're after. It's kind of just like hairspray, and it'll kick off the joints in places maybe that you can't reach, or if it's a large surface area. I really do prefer the squirt bottle. This will put out like a little stream, so it's a very targeted application, but the way that I typically use it, and this saves a lot of accelerator, you can just take this top off, and what you have is that little hose, and if you look close, you've got a drip. So if you've got a joint, you can just touch that drip to the joint, and it'll kick off without wasting anything more than a drop of accelerator. On the subject of accelerators, and this is not strictly a product placement, but a public service announcement, there are some times that you need to fill a large void in your model or in the joint, and doing multiple layers of cyanoacrylate obviously would work, but sometimes you need to get that joint filled still in a manner that's going to be exceptionally hard and will maintain the integrity of the joint. And what I use for that is a top secret solution. You've seen the video. If you follow my channel, you already know what I'm talking about. Baking soda. I keep a little can of this beside my workbench, and basically all you do is drop a little whiff of this into the crack or void, smooth it over, and then you bust out your thin cyanoacrylate, and what ends up happening is the entire mess kicks off instantaneously and creates something somewhat akin to concrete that is exceptionally hard, easy to sand, you can drill it, and you can tap it. So if you're looking for another way to accelerate a joint or to do a large void fill, baking soda is exactly what you're after. Keep it by your bench, it's worthwhile. That was sort of the basic cyanoacrylate that I use on a regular basis. Let's talk about some of this other kind of like cool cyanoacrylate that Starbond also has out. And I'm going to start with something that's actually not even cyanoacrylate. This is a debonder. So if you accidentally get glue on something that you shouldn't have, or you bond something that you shouldn't have, this will help. Now, it's not like it'll just instantaneously dissolve it away and you'll be back to fresh parts, but it will slowly dissolve that joint. So if you're looking to have this sort of in reserve in case you made a boo-boo, probably a good idea. Grab a little bit of this. Really, what I found the best purpose for this is getting it off your fingers, because it will always happen. You'll get some on your fingers. Glue your fingers together. There's two ways of getting it off. There is using some of this debonder and slowly, rubbing it off, and I'll show you the other method. Option 2 for getting cyanoacrylate off your fingers, and I actually prefer it because it's a little faster. If you get that gob on your fingers, I just take some coarse sandpaper and sand it off. Works good for getting cyanoacrylate off your fingerprints, and also sands your fingerprints off in case you decide to rob a bank later on. All right, we got two more bottles here that you probably haven't seen before because they are rather specialized, but they are in the Starbond arsenal. The first one, actually both of these, are really for specific purposes, and it's mostly about the color. So it's the same medium thick viscosity as the other cyanoacrylates that I've talked about, but this one here is a dark brown sort of high gloss finish, and this one here is a bright white high gloss finish. This one is typically used in woodworking, so you'll fill voids, you know, knots and cracks in wood with this, let it cure, kick off, and then you can sand it, and you end up with a perfectly flush surface. And then this one is more for things like ceramics, marble, and that kind of thing. So, you know, I don't know that bright white is something that would typically be used in an RC submarine, but if you happen to have a white sub, you have white CA glue that you can use to glue it together. But hey, might not hurt to keep something like this around the house in case you break a teacup and you need to glue it back together. So there you go. As I mentioned, my friends at Starbond did provide me these, and I do get a little bit of money every time you order from my link on the Nautilus Dry Docks, and I will put that link in the description to the left of this video on your screen. Make sure you use that one so that I get credit for pushing you in the right direction. I really do like these glues. The thing about them, most hobby stores or large distributors that you're going to go to buy this stuff in bulk, and they have hundreds of bottles that sit on the shelf for who knows how long. The thing about Starbond, the thing that they push a lot, is the fact that these are manufactured fresh extremely often. So you're going to get premium super glue for your application. You know it's not going to be stale on you. You don't want to let these bottles open to let moisture get in, because it will affect the chemical properties of the bond, which is not a good thing because we've got important things to stick together. So with that, I am going to leave you with your super glue thoughts. My name is Bob Martin, the RC Sub Guy with the NautilusDryDocks.com. If you have any questions, by all means, reach out to me anytime, bob@NautilusDryDocks.com. I would love to hear from you. If these videos are of interest to you or you find them fascinating, please do subscribe and like. It helps me out a lot. Appreciate you coming by. I'm going to leave you with that. Thanks for joining me, and we'll catch you next time. All right, so we talked about this miracle thin cyanoacrylate, and as it so happened, we had this sent back to us by somebody whose poor boat got broken in half thanks to United Parcel Service. I want to show you what I was talking about in terms of the joints. So we're going to get kind of close here. Now, if I butt this together, you can see that that joint is basically completely flush. It's like a razor thin seam in there. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to hold this in place. I'm going to get Logan to bust out the thin CA, and just going to put a couple of drops right on the top of the seam closest to you. Yeah, right in there. Okay, now the other side. And it's just like water. You can see it flowing there. Now, capillary action is actually drawing all of that cyanoacrylate down into the crack, and it's saturating it all the way through. Now we're going to bust out the accelerator. It's going to hit it with a little accelerator, and that is going to kick it off almost instantaneously. So this is now one piece. You can see on the back side, you can't even see that seam, and you certainly won't once we get some paint on there. Now, I would not necessarily trust this to hold. This is a big boat, and it is going to be undergoing quite a bit of stress. So we're going to do something that I've done in the past that's worked really well. So we glued these two halves together, and you know that thin cyanoacrylate is going to make a nice strong bond, but we want to have something that is going to be a little bit more sturdy, and we're going to leverage some of this other product right here in order to make that happen. Before we do that, we're going to rough up the joint all over that broken seam right there. All right. Grab a little compressed air, blow it in my assistant's face. Excellent. We're going to tear off just a little bit of tissue. Facial tissue. And put this over that seam. Now I'm going to use some medium CA for this. I'm going to wet out the whole area on top, and we're going to stick this down, and we're going to wet this out even more. And this is going to make something akin to fiberglass when we're all done, if we do it properly. And this is just, it's wet right out. It's become almost completely transparent. Looks good to me. Hit it with some accelerator. That is going to kick off. And once that's finished, I can use a razor, trim that right out. That is going to be a rock solid bond. That's going to be extremely hard to break, at least from this side. Not much we can do from the other side, because obviously we don't want to mess up all of these beautiful, details that you can see in there. But I'm pretty confident that this is going to hold for many, many years to come.